One fateful night, Amoka was startled awake by a soft knock on her bedroom door. She assumed it was a mistake and turned over to resume her sleep. The knock came again, this time firmer. Amoka hesitated but eventually opened the door to find Mama Emeka standing there, a strange look on her face. "I couldn't sleep," Mama Emeka said, her voice unusually soft. "The night is so cold, and the house feels lonely." Amoka, though puzzled, invited her in, thinking nothing of it. That night, Ifeoma felt an unusual presence. She woke to find Mama Emeka lying beside her, claiming she was lonely and needed someone to talk to, but as the dissuasion continued, Amoka found a little bit weird her mother-in-law's touch. She moved her hand to her face. She said, "Does your husband kiss? Let me kiss you like that." She moved her hand to her cleavage. Amoka could not hold herself any longer until she succumbed. They had a nice time with each other. She realized that her mother-in-law had a manhood. Before I continue my story, kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel, turn on the notification bell and click on all, so as to watch our new video. In the bustling city of Lagos, the air was always thick with intrigue, secrets, and whispers. Amidst the chaos, a newlywed couple, Emeka and Amoka, celebrated their union in a grand wedding that drew the entire neighborhood. Emeka, a wealthy businessman, had to leave for an urgent business trip barely a week after their wedding. His mother, Mama Emeka, insisted she would move in to keep Amoka company and ensure the young bride settled into her new home comfortably. At first, Mama Emeka's presence was a relief. Amoka, unfamiliar with city life, found solace in her mother-in-law's guidance. But the nights were the strangest. Mama Emeka would often sit by Amoka's bed, holding her hand and singing lullabies from her own childhood. As the nights turned into weeks, Mama Emeka's behavior grew peculiar. She began staying longer in Amoka's room, sometimes lying beside her, whispering stories of loneliness and heartbreak that Amoka couldn't ignore. One night, the boundary broke. Mama Emeka confessed a deep yearning that stemmed from years of neglect and pain. Amoka, initially shocked, found herself drawn into the older woman's vulnerability and warmth. Not only that, she found out that her mother-in-law had a manhood. Amoka thought in her heart, if she could it with her mother-in-law, it's not bad, as long as it is not an outsider. She so much enjoyed her mother-in-law because she handles her with care. The two women formed an unspoken bond. One layered with each other, they made love. Amoka began to rely on Mama Emeka not just for comfort, but for a sense of identity she had never known. Months passed, and the unthinkable happened. Amoka realized she was pregnant. The revelation sent waves of confusion and guilt through her, but to her surprise, Mama Emeka showed no fear, only a strange satisfaction. When Emeka finally returned, he was overjoyed to see his wife but puzzled by the changes in her demeanor. His joy turned into shock when Amoka revealed her pregnancy. "How could this be?" Emeka demanded. His voice shook with both disbelief and anger. Amoka, trembling, uttered the words that would haunt him forever. "It's your mother." The house plunged into chaos. Emeka could not believe what he was hearing. He stormed into his mother's room, demanding answers, but Mama Emeka only offered cryptic smiles and an eerie calm. Emeka sought counsel from elders and spiritual leaders, desperate to make sense of the madness. They warned him of a curse that could destroy his lineage if the truth was not unraveled. The elders suggested that Amoka undergo a ritual to reveal the true paternity of the child. Though reluctant, she agreed, knowing the stakes were far too high. As preparations for the ritual began, strange things started happening around the house. Objects moved on their own, whispers echoed through the walls, and Emeka began having vivid dreams of his late father. In one dream, Emeka's father revealed a dark family secret. Mama Emeka had been cursed in her youth by a scorned lover who vowed that her love life would forever be entangled in scandal. The curse made Mama Emeka grew a manhood. She had both man and woman genital. Meanwhile, Amoka started experiencing cravings and emotions that felt foreign to her. It was as if she carried not just a child but a force beyond her comprehension. Mama Emeka, on the other hand, began exhibiting supernatural abilities. She could predict events before they happened and seemed unbothered by the turmoil in the house. As the day of the ritual approached, Emeka wrestled with conflicting emotions. He loved his mother but couldn't ignore the betrayal he felt. He also felt torn about Amoka, unsure if he could ever trust her again. On the night of the ritual, the elders gathered in the living room. Candles flickered ominously as they chanted incantations. Amoka sat in the center, her hands trembling as they held a bowl of sacred water. As the ritual progressed, the flames of the candles rose unnaturally high. Suddenly, a loud scream pierced the air. It was Mama Emeka. She fell to the ground, convulsing. "She's hiding something," one of the elders exclaimed. They pressed Mama Emeka to confess, but she only laughed hysterically, her voice echoing like thunder. Mama Emeka's laughter filled the room like a haunting melody. Her eyes gleamed with a supernatural light, and her voice grew deep and guttural as she spoke. "You cannot change what has been written," she hissed. The elders backed away, their confidence shaken. One of them, Baba Ola, the most experienced among them, stepped forward. He began a powerful chant to dispel whatever dark force seemed to possess Mama Emeka. Amoka, seated in the center, felt a wave of nausea overcome her. The sacred bowl in her hands began to ripple, though no one had touched it. The air grew thick, and an unseen energy seemed to hold everyone captive. "Mama Emeka, what have you done?" Emeka shouted, his voice cracking with desperation. But his mother only glared at him, her expression a mix of defiance and sorrow. Baba Ola's chant intensified. The walls trembled, and the flames of the candles seemed to dance in response. Mama Emeka collapsed, her body writhing as if battling an invisible force. Suddenly, her voice softened, almost pleading. "I didn't choose this," she whispered. Tears streamed down her face as she looked at her son. "I was cursed long before you were born." The room fell silent as everyone processed her words. Amoka clutched her stomach, feeling a strange warmth radiating from within. She gasped as an image flashed in her mind, a vision of Mama Emeka as a young woman. In the vision, Mama Emeka was in love with a powerful man who betrayed her for another. In her rage, she sought the help of a sorcerer, who promised revenge but warned of a steep price. The sorcerer's curse had bound Mama Emeka's love life to darkness, ensuring that every intimate bond she formed would lead to pain and chaos. Over the years, the curse had festered, growing more potent. "Why didn't you tell me?" Emeka asked, his voice breaking. Mama Emeka looked at him with hollow eyes. "How could I? I thought I could fight it. But when Amoka came into our lives, it was as if the curse awakened again." Amoka began to sob. "This child, what is it?" she asked, fear gripping her heart. The elders exchanged worried glances. Baba Ola spoke cautiously. "The child may carry both light and darkness. It could either break the curse or deepen it." The revelation sent chills through the room. Emeka struggled to process the idea that his own child could hold the key to ending his family's torment. Mama Emeka's breathing grew shallow. She looked at Amoka and said, "I never meant for this to happen. But you made me feel alive again." The confession hit Amoka like a thunderbolt. She couldn't deny the bond they had shared, but now it felt tainted, unnatural. She looked at Emeka, guilt etched across her face. Emeka couldn't bring himself to look at either woman. The weight of the betrayal and the mystery of the unborn child consumed him. "What do we do now?" he asked Baba Ola. Baba Ola sighed deeply. "The curse must be confronted directly. But this will not be easy. It requires a journey into the spiritual realm, where truths are revealed and decisions are made." The spiritual journey, he explained, would involve both Emeka and Amoka. They would have to face their deepest fears and confront the origin of the curse. Mama Emeka, though weakened, insisted on joining them. "This is my burden. I must see it through," she said, her voice resolute. Preparations for the journey began. The elders gathered sacred herbs and invoked ancestral spirits to guide them. The house was transformed into a spiritual sanctuary. On the appointed night, Emeka, Amoka, and Mama Emeka sat in a circle as the elders performed the ritual. Their bodies remained in the physical world, but their spirits were transported to a mystical plane. The spiritual realm was a vast, eerie landscape filled with swirling mists and glowing orbs. Emeka found himself standing before a large mirror that reflected not his image but fragments of his family's past. Amoka saw a path lined with golden lights, each one representing a choice she had made. At the end of the path stood a figure cloaked in shadows. Mama Emeka faced a raging river. On the other side stood the sorcerer who had cursed her. His face was obscured, but his laughter echoed in her ears. "You cannot escape me," the sorcerer said, his voice dripping with malice. "Your pain is my triumph." Mama Emeka clenched her fists. "I will end this curse, even if it costs me everything," she declared. The sorcerer raised his hand, and the river began to swell, threatening to consume her. She stood her ground, drawing strength from the knowledge that she was not alone. Meanwhile, Emeka approached the mirror, determined to understand the curse's impact on his family. As he touched the glass, it shattered, revealing a doorway. On the other side, he saw his father. The man looked younger, but his face was filled with regret. "I am part of this too," he said. "I made mistakes that set this chain of events into motion." Emeka listened as his father explained how his own betrayal had driven Mama Emeka to seek the sorcerer's help. "I thought I was protecting you, but I only made things worse," he admitted. Amoka, meanwhile, reached the shadowy figure at the end of her path. It spoke in a voice that was both familiar and strange. "You have the power to choose your destiny," it said. "But your choice will come with a price." Amoka stood frozen before the shadowy figure. Its voice resonated through her, sending chills down her spine. "What price?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. The figure stepped closer, and as it did, its form shifted. It transformed into a reflection of Amoka herself. "The price is your freedom," it said. "To break this curse, you must accept the burden of carrying its remnants forever." Confusion washed over Amoka. "What does that mean?" she demanded. But the figure dissolved into golden light, leaving her with only cryptic words and more questions. In the raging river, Mama Emeka fought to keep her footing as the sorcerer's taunts echoed. "You think you can defy me," he sneered. "Your guilt binds you to me, and your love has doomed them all." Mama Emeka's resolve hardened. She shouted back, "My love may have been cursed, but it was real. I will not let you control me any longer." She plunged her hand into the river, pulling out a glowing object, a symbol of her pain and regret. The sorcerer's laughter faltered. The object pulsed with energy, and the river's waters began to calm. "No. That is mine," he roared, but Mama Emeka clutched it tightly, refusing to let go. In another part of the realm, Emeka confronted his father. "You betrayed her," he said, his voice filled with both anger and sorrow. "But she's the one paying the price." His father nodded solemnly. "I know. And I've carried that guilt in death as much as she has in life. But now, you must decide how this ends." Emeka felt a surge of anger. "How can I decide? This curse has destroyed everything. Our family, our trust. How can I fix something so broken?" His father placed a hand on his shoulder. "By choosing love over fear. Forgiveness over blame. The curse feeds on pain, but it can be starved by unity." As Emeka absorbed his father's words, a path opened before him, leading toward a glowing tree at the center of the realm. He sensed that this tree held the answers they needed. Meanwhile, Amoka found herself standing before the tree as well. It loomed tall and ancient, its branches shimmering with light. She reached out to touch it, but a voice stopped her. "Do not touch it unless you are certain," the voice said. It was Baba Ola's voice, resonating through the spiritual plane. "The tree holds the truth, but it also demands sacrifice." Emeka and Mama Emeka arrived moments later, their paths converging under the tree's branches. The three of them stood in silence, the weight of their choices pressing down on them. "What now?" Amoka asked, looking at Baba Ola's spectral form. He appeared beside the tree, his face grave. "The tree will reveal the curse's root and offer a solution. But you must act together." They nodded in unison, each placing a hand on the tree's trunk. The ground trembled, and the realm shifted. Images flashed before them, scenes from the past, fragments of pain, love, and betrayal. They saw Mama Emika's youth, her heartbreak, and her desperation as she sought the sorcerer's help. They saw Emika's father, torn between duty and desire, making choices that led to ruin. Finally they saw themselves, Amoka, lost and yearning for connection, Emika, burdened by the weight of his lineage, and Mama Emika, trapped by a curse she never fully understood. The tree's light enveloped them, and a voice spoke from within it. To end this, you must forgive each other and accept the truth of your actions. Only then can the curse be undone. Mama Emika turned to Emika, her eyes filled with tears. I'm sorry, she said. For everything. For the lies, the pain, the mistakes I made. Emika hesitated, his emotions warring within him. But as he looked at his mother, he saw not a villain but a woman who had suffered endlessly. I forgive you, he said softly. Amoka stepped forward, her voice trembling. And I forgive myself. For letting this happen, for losing control. But I also forgive you, Mama Emika. I see now that we were both caught in something far bigger than ourselves. The tree's light grew brighter, and the ground beneath them shifted again. The sorcerer's voice echoed faintly, filled with rage and despair. No, you cannot take this from me. A crackling sound filled the air, and the sorcerer's form appeared before them, his power waning. He lashed out, but the tree's light shielded them. Your reign is over, Mama Emika said, her voice firm. She held out the glowing object she had pulled from the river. Take this and be gone. The sorcerer screamed as the object dissolved in his hands. His form disintegrated, leaving only a faint shadow that quickly vanished. The spiritual realm began to collapse, the swirling mists dissipating as the curse's hold weakened. Emika, Amoka, and Mama Emika felt themselves being pulled back to the physical world. They awoke in the living room, gasping for breath. The elders surrounded them, their expressions a mix of relief and awe. It is done, Baba Ola said. The curse has been broken. But the journey had left scars. Emika and Amoka exchanged uncertain glances, unsure of how to rebuild their relationship after all that had transpired. Mama Emika, though freed from the curse, bore the weight of her actions. She knew she had to atone, not just to her family but to herself. The room was eerily silent as everyone processed the events that had unfolded. Amoka, cradling her stomach, felt a mix of relief and fear. She glanced at Emika, who seemed distant, lost in his thoughts. What happens now? Amoka whispered, breaking the silence. Her question hung in the air, heavy with the weight of their shared turmoil. Baba Ola stepped forward, his gaze resting on each of them. The curse may be broken, but the consequences of its existence remain. The child you carry is no ordinary child, Amoka. Amoka stiffened. What do you mean? Is my baby in danger? Her voice trembled as she clutched her stomach protectively. Baba Ola shook his head. Not in danger, no. But the child carries remnants of the curse's magic, a power that, if nurtured properly, can bring great change or chaos. Emika looked at Baba Ola sharply. So what are we supposed to do? How do we raise a child with magic? His voice cracked, frustration and fear evident. Baba Ola's expression softened. You must guide the child with love and honesty. Secrets and lies created this curse. Truth and unity will ensure it does not repeat itself. Mama Emika's heart sank. She had already failed so many times. How could she possibly be a part of this child's future after what she had done? Perhaps. It's best if I leave, she said quietly. No, Amoka said firmly, surprising everyone. You are the reason I survived this ordeal. Whatever happened, we faced it together. This family needs you. Emika hesitated, the pain of betrayal still fresh. But can we trust her? He asked, his voice low. How do we move on from what she did? Amoka turned to him, her eyes pleading. We forgive. We rebuild. Isn't that what the tree taught us? If we let this anger fester, we're no better than the curse itself. Emika sighed heavily. He knew she was right, but forgiving wasn't as simple as saying the words. It would take time, time he wasn't sure they had. Baba Ola clapped his hands, drawing their attention. There is one more thing. The child's arrival will attract those who seek its power. You must be vigilant. Attract who? Mama Emeka asked, a new wave of fear gripping her. Isn't the sorcerer gone? The sorcerer is gone, Baba Ola confirmed. But the magical energy released during the curse-breaking has awakened others. Witches, seers, and power-hungry beings will be drawn to this family. Amoka felt her legs weaken. She sank onto the sofa, her mind racing. How could she protect her child when she didn't even fully understand the danger? We'll face them together, Emeka said, his voice steadier now. He placed a hand on Amoka's shoulder. We've survived this much. We can handle whatever comes next. Mama Emeka stepped forward, her voice trembling. I will devote my life to protecting this family. Whatever it takes, I will make amends. Baba Ola nodded approvingly. Good. You'll need each other now more than ever. But remember, the greatest protection lies in unity. If you stay divided, you will fall. The elders began to leave, one by one, their faces solemn but hopeful. As Baba Ola prepared to depart, he turned back to them. Your journey is far from over. But you have what you need to succeed, each other.